All right, everybody, welcome back to the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. We've been out a few days. Took the old lady, took my very special lady friend down to Fredericksburg, Texas. We spent a few days there. Then we head over to Austin. Had a nice dinner with some friends at Vince Young Steakhouse. If you guys haven't been to Vince Young Steakhouse, I know it's probably like there's other places in Austin that are probably better. Maybe. I don't know. I love Vince Young Steakhouse. The steaks there are phenomenal. The bacon mac and cheese is like heavenly. I had some short rib chili the other night that was very, very good. If you're a big fan of bourbon, they have tons of bourbons. Lots of different wines. It's a really good restaurant. I think the only knock, I've got two knocks on Vince Young Steakhouse. One, it's really dark in there, and I think that's just a nice restaurant thing. So I guess I'm okay with that. In case you can't tell, I don't go to too many super nice restaurants. It's really dark in there, and they got rid of this badass chocolate cake they used to have. It's still on the menu. It's called the Forever Young, I believe. Maybe that's I don't know. They used to have this really big, awesome slice of chocolate cake, like traditional chocolate cake. And now it's like this little bitty rectangular wafer looking thing. It's not a cake. So those are the only two things bad I'll ever say about Vince Young Steakhouse, I think. Love that place. We go about this time every year. Seen Steve Sarkisian, seen a lot of the when they have recruiting visits and things like that. We've seen those guys. Seen Bo Davis. Seen basically the whole staff. Seen the Fox News or the Fox Big Noon crew there before. Anyway, lots of super famous people like myself dine at Vince Young Steakhouse. You guys should check it out. Anyway, we had a great weekend, but we spent a few days away. So it's time to get back into it. And folks, we just got to hurry up and wait. It's 3 weeks till Texas plays football again. This is the danger of making the playoff, folks. And or any really good bowl game that plays late in bowl season. The season goes by. I mean, you wait all year for the season to get here. Finally gets here, and then it blows through so fast. I still can't believe we're done. And all that's left is a few bowl games in the college football playoff. But then for the playoff teams, they got to wait like a month to get back out on the field. And that's rough on the fans, folks. I know it's rough on the players, rough on the fans for sure. But we'll figure out something to talk about for the next few weeks. In a couple weeks, we'll actually start digging into this game. And so then we'll be like on a normal show pattern schedule, whatever you want to call it. But from now until then, I don't know. We're just going to have to find stuff to talk about. There's going to be lots of portal news. We'll have National Signing Day in there. And then there'll be other bowl games. So we'll start doing some predictions. We'll call it Trace Otra games. I don't know if we'll do 3 whole games every week. Because honestly, I don't really care about a lot of these bowl games. I won't get to see a lot of these bowl games. And I haven't seen a lot of the teams that will play in these bowl games. Just being honest. So I don't know. We'll figure that out. But today, I think we got a pretty decent show lined up. We're going to do the Trace Otra games recap on this Army-Navy game over the weekend. Army-Navy game always saves us every year and has a final regular season game between Army and Navy the week after the championship weekend, where all the Power 5 conferences, all the conferences that have a championship do their championship games. So thank God for Army and Navy, not just from a football perspective, but also everything those young men and women do, everything they will do going forward for our country. Appreciate their sacrifice. That is not easy. to go to West Point, to go to Annapolis, to go to the Air Force Academy. That is a rough. Hey, dude, I know you were a kid 5 minutes ago, but now guess what? Your day's full of all kinds of crazy shit, crazy school. And then you got football on top of that, man. Those are special kids, man. The kids that make it through that are a different kind of kid, man. And so we're lucky to have them. Appreciate those guys. We'll also talk about the Horn Takes Travel and Roadshow and the Sugar Bowl. See how that worked out for us. And then we'll do a quick glance at the college football playoff. Just some thoughts I've been having the last few days about the college football playoff. For those that don't know, and the shows are going to change, the format's going to change as we wind down with football. But we do Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday around noon, generally noon, every single week. We switched to that about halfway through this season and really enjoyed it. Shortened the shows a little bit, kept me engaged. You guys can check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. If you just like to listen to podcasts, check us out at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com or anywhere you get your podcasts. All right, Trace Otra Games recap, Army-Navy edition. We talked about it on Tuesday. It's been Tuesday since we did a show. But on Tuesday, we talked about this game and how we thought, man, this is going to be one of those classic Army-Navy, knockdown, drag out, just physical. You see 87 runs up the middle for nothing, and then finally someone busts one to score a touchdown to make the game like 13-6. You know, crazy shit like that is what happens in this Army-Navy game. Always really, well, I won't say always, generally pretty close. 7 of the last 10 have been one-score games. Generally not a lot of scoring. Lots of field goals, but not a lot of touchdowns in this game. And again, these guys this year in particular, not just battling it out for the pride of winning that game, which is a huge deal. You can tell if you never watched this game, you should watch it. I would love to go in person, to be just perfectly honest. I think it would be awesome to be in the house with all the cadets, all the midshipmen. They're just going crazy. They're kind of losing their military bearing a little bit. Some of them, you see it. If you've been in the military, I've been in the military. If you've been in the military, you watch them in the stands. They lose their military bearing, but I think that's okay. They're excited. They're proud to be there. They're proud to be Army. They're proud to be Navy. Proud of their teammates, because those are their teammates out there on the field. They'll go and do great things with a lot of those people on the field as they move further on into their careers in the military. So it's okay to lose your military bearing every once in a while, especially at a football game. But yeah, they're battling it out for all this pride. But this year, both of these teams came in 5-6, and they're both trying to get bowl eligible. We thought Army'd get it done. We thought the score would be 20-17. Army was a small favorite, I think 1.5, 2 points, something like that. We figured they'd get it done this year, 20-17. They ended up winning at 17-11. Just the weirdest game. This game was 17-3, and I get to watch all of it. We were driving from Fredericksburg into Austin, which is about, I don't know, hour and a half drive. So we didn't get to see all of it. I was listening to most of it on the way, but it seemed like a really weird game. Got to catch the end of it in the hotel room. It was 17-3 with, man, it wasn't a lot of time. I think maybe the beginning of the fourth quarter. I should have checked on that, but really Army was kind of running away with this game. There was a lot of turnovers. They had a defensive score. I'm almost positive in this game. But all of a sudden, and these two teams are like, hey, we're going to line it up and run it. All of a sudden, Navy calls in the aircraft carriers in the second half of this game for some air support. They threw the ball 26 times in this game for 179 yards and a touchdown. A lot of that was second half. I mean, almost all of that was in the second half. And the crazy thing was, Army just sat back and let them do it, man. It couldn't have been any easier on Navy's wide receivers and Navy's quarterback to just make a lot of completions, pitching and catching it out there on those short stop patterns, short hitch patterns, out patterns. So You just don't see it. I mean, you watch Army Navy, you're used to seeing maybe 2 or 3 passes a game when these two teams meet. And Navy threw the damn ball 26 times. Nuts. No, it almost got Army, but they were able to make a stand at the end. Really, I mean, the ending of this game is just kind of how you would hope the ending of this game would go, man. 4th and inches, 4th and a yard, something like that. Navy quarterback gets down to couldn't have been a couple of inches that Army stopped him. And then Army has to take the safety just to be safe. That's where you get the weird 11. Nuts game, man. So congratulations to Army for winning their 3rd Commander-in-Chief trophy in the last 4 seasons. Coach Jeff Monken, congratulations to him. I'm an Army veteran, so I like to see Army do all right. Trace Otra games on the season so far were 29-15. And as we said, we've only got a few games left, folks. We got a few bowl games. I mean, the bowl games start, and I want to say there's like a bowl game tomorrow night, Wednesday night. I think the most notable one, at least for me, coming up, I believe Saturday is the Independence Bowl, Texas Tech and Cal. Probably watch that one. I mean, I'll probably have a lot of them on. I just don't know how much I'm going to actually be able to sit down and pay attention and stay hyped up about these games. So there it is, Trace Otra games. We go 1-0 last week. That's what we're looking at. And we just got to keep getting better and better. I would like to be above, I'd like to be closer to the 70% line when all of this is said and done. Sugar Bowl plans, folks, for the Horn Takes Traveling Roadshow are set. So check this out. The way it works probably works like this at most schools. If you're a season ticket holder, towards the end of the season, they send out email that says, hey, if you want conference championship, if you're in contention for the conference, if you want conference championship tickets, you want bowl tickets, you want college football playoff tickets, all that jazz, they send out email. You go into your account, you request the amount of tickets they'll allow you to request, which just depends on your donor level, where you fall compared to all these other donors, right? So they said we'd find out on Friday, this last Friday, whether we got tickets or not. Well, we're walking around Fredericksburg. We just got done with dinner. We're headed into a few shops. About to head down to this little spot where we go and listen to some music every single time we're there. Drink some drinks. We're headed that way. I get the email. Sorry, Sean, we weren't able to fulfill your order for tickets. I said, well, shit. Which I pretty much knew that was coming. I wasn't too surprised. I wasn't sure how many tickets that the schools got for the Sugar Bowl, but I assumed, I was probably on the outside looking in. I'm in the top 20% in points for all season ticket donors, which is okay. I mean, I was actually surprised I was that high, to be honest. I'm not a super wealthy man. I don't just have money like pouring out of everywhere to spend on football games, but we do okay, and we have we like to give to the school, and we like some decent seats and all all the perks, the clubs and shit like that. We like that stuff. So 20%, I thought, man, maybe I'll be on the outside looking in. And the other thing is, the further down, the closer you get to top 1%, 2%, those folks are allowed to request a lot more tickets. So let's say they had 4 season tickets, they probably were able to request 8. And then it comes down to me, and I was only able to request 4, which I thought was crazy. I was actually able to request more tickets to the college football playoffs than I was the Big 12 championship game. Anyhow, I heard the cutoff was like 3 or 4%. I don't know for sure. That's not a lot of Texas fans that are season ticket holders and Longhorn Foundation members that actually get the opportunity to buy some tickets. So I started researching a little more. The schools only get 13,000 tickets a piece to the Sugar Bowl, which, Big 12 championship game was only 8,000, I think, a piece, which is pretty criminal, my opinion. The Superdome holds 74,295 people for football, it claims. So the schools combined got 26,000 tickets. That's only 35% of the tickets allotted for the Sugar Bowl that Washington and Texas actually get. The rest of it goes to, my assumption, New Orleans Saints season ticket holders and corporate sponsors. So like 65% of the people that got a chance to buy tickets at face value, and I still don't know what face value for the Sugar Bowl was, and I assume it varies depending on, certain levels of the field and all that. That's how it generally is. 65% of the people that got that opportunity probably don't even care about the game. May not even be affiliated in any way whatsoever with Washington or Texas. So now there's like a whole shit ton of season ticket holders that have to go out on the secondary market and kind of battle it out with each other and really just get fleeced by a bunch of people that probably just don't give a fuck. They just buy them because they can, and they know they can turn around and sell them for ridiculous amounts of money. And I'm a capitalist, don't get me wrong. My take on it is, like, the Saints, Superdome, like whatever that looks like, that organization is going to get their money. They're going to have people in the seats. I don't understand. And I'm assuming the corporate part of it is just part of sort of the package, just part of the agreement, right? Like AT&T says we want to sponsor this bowl game. And so part of that agreement is AT&T says we're going to give you X amount of money to put our names all over this shit. And you guys are going to put our names all over the shit, but you're also going to give us, a bunch of suites, a bunch of tickets, all that kind of crap, so we can give it off to our clients or give it off to our employees. Maybe they turn around and sell them. I don't know. So from like a New Orleans Saints / Superdome perspective, they're getting their money. I think this is something we need to figure out about college football real quick, especially as we move into this 12-team playoff. And I know that the first round, maybe the first two rounds of the college football playoffs are home games for whoever is the higher ranked seed. I understand that. But for fans, you're looking at more and more of an investment now. And to be a part of a, to support a team all season long and then get to the end of it when it really matters. Like, those are the games we want to go to as fans. And you can't because, 65% of the tickets are given to people that don't have anything to do with the teams that are in the game. They're going to have to figure that out, I think. We talked about NIL. We've talked about the transfer portal. There's a lot of old school people still left around that watch college football that are not fans of that. Not fans of NIL, not fans of transfer portal. And so this is just another one of those things where we're, we're kind of, I don't want to say we're ruining the game. We're just making the game inaccessible to the people that actually care. And so I think it's easy to take, leap to the next step of that and say, money is fundamentally changing college football. And I'm not sure it's for the better. It's for the better of some financially. But the problem is If you drive away all your fans, you don't have anything to offer. I mean, you don't have a fan base. You don't have people that are willing to pay money. And I think this is the type of shit that turns people off. This is the kind of thing that can turn you off from a sport. I used to be a huge hockey fan, like huge. When the Dallas Stars came to Dallas, and I don't remember what year it was, sometime in the 90s, mid to late 90s, somewhere around in there, mid 90s, early to mid 90s. I'd watch it all the time. I loved it. I hadn't at that point, I was early high school probably. I had never been exposed to ice hockey on a big, a grand level. I'd seen it before, but man, when the Stars came, we were able to get those games on TV. I loved it. And I tell people at that time, hockey's my second favorite sport. And it's like a close second behind football. I can dig a violent sport. And then they went on strike for a year. And I have never gotten back into ice hockey the way I was before. I still go to games if I get a chance. Like to go to minor league games. I think those are fun. But it's just not the same for me. So the business of college football needs to be real careful and needs to figure out ways that they can make college football more accessible. I'm not saying cheaper. I'm saying more accessible to the people that actually care, especially this late in the season college football playoff stuff. You got to be able to get the people that care into the stadium without them having to spend, an arm and a leg to do it. Anyways, I get the email. Sean, we're sorry you don't get tickets. Fuck you. And so I spring into action on the secondary market. I open up SeatGeek and I start digging through. I find me a set of nosebleeds on the Texas side. Some tickets I won't have to take out a second loan on my mortgage and my house and shit like that to be able to afford. And folks, the lower level seats are just fucking absurd. Like $2,500 for a ticket to a football game. Lots of stuff like that. $1,500, $1,200. Just crazy. And so the upper deck seats are nuts. I mean, price wise, they're fucking nuts. But I spring into action. I find a set, put them in my cart. I'm going to buy them. And it says, sorry, these tickets are unavailable. So I realized pretty quickly, and I did that process like 2 or 3 times. I realized pretty quickly that, we're on the clock, folks. There's a lot of Texas fans right now, a lot of season ticket holders, foundation members that just got that email. And they probably already went and booked hotel. So yeah, there's people trying to get seats. So finally, I get there and I get a pair. Still in the nosebleed, still, relatively reasonable. And I say relatively, meaning literally relative to the other tickets in the stadium. Relative to anything else, they're fucking stupidly high. Anyway, got 2 tickets. Horntakes Traveling Roadshow will be inside the Superdome for the Sugar Bowl against Washington. We're excited about that. Anytime you talk about tickets, you'll always have like some people say some stuff like, just wait until the game gets closer. The prices will come down. And that may be true. But I don't ever want to be put in a situation for a game like this where I'm part of the exception that proves that rule, that there's always going to be tickets and they're always going to come down the closer you get to game day. And then there's the really like psychopath people that say, just show up and walk around before the game and you'll find cheap tickets on game day. There's way more people out there that have that attitude about games than I can possibly imagine. Hell no. I do not know how. If you were that person, I don't know how you do that. I feel like you need to be locked up because you are nuts. There's no way I'm spending all the money. And folks, you can't just like, I don't know what y'all's hotel situation is. We're Hilton people. Generally, for most things, I can book a hotel. Sometimes I can cancel that stay. It's close to 24 hours of the stay, and sometimes up to 5 days. For for big shit like this, you don't get that option. You got to pay for it. And so if I'm paying for a hotel and I'm driving my ass down to New Orleans, which where I live is a long damn drive, you best believe Horn Takes Podcast is going to have some tickets in hand before all of that shit happens. So I'd already booked my hotel like the second the selection show hit and like Texas was in. I start booking hotels. I booked hotels, excuse me, for the Sugar Bowl and for the national championship game, just in case. Not being presumptive, just in case. So when you have to book ahead of time like that, it almost forces you to go ahead and buy the tickets at ridiculous amounts of money. And that's what we did. I'm not complaining. I'm happy as shit that I get to be there. I have never gone to a Sugar Bowl. I've certainly never been to a college football playoff game. So we're at 100% excited to have tickets, have a hotel, have a plan. But then we start thinking about, so what do we do down in New Orleans? Like my wife and I have never been to New Orleans. And I mean, you hear the touristy shit to go doing, French Quarter or whatever, Bourbon Street. I think those are places in New Orleans. But other than that, I don't really know what the hell to do in New Orleans. I'm sure there's tons of stuff to do. I just don't know what it is. So we start thinking about that. What the hell are we going to do? We're going to be there for New Year's Eve. As it happens, our friends over at surlyhorns.com, I mentioned them earlier this year after the Bama game. We happened upon their tailgate at the Alabama game. And surlyhorns.com is just a place where it's a message board, but it's also a message board that's affiliated with the Texas One Fund, which is a collective, I think, for NIL. I know it supports all University of Texas athletes. And then Surly Horns has their own little thing, the Texas Burn Ends, which is they provide support through their nonprofit for Texas Longhorn tight ends. Make sure those guys can get some NIL money. So as it turns out, these guys have organized, along with the Texas One Fund, a Sugar Bowl game day party at Manning's Sports Bar and Grill down there in New Orleans. That's 228 Poydras. I'm butchering that, I know. Poydras. How do you say that, Cajun people? New Orleans people, Creole people, which I think Creole and Cajun's two different things. If anybody knows that, help me out. I know this LSU fans get on my shit on TikTok all the time. Maybe one time they can be helpful and tell me what the difference between Cajun and Creole is. Also, how do I pronounce Poydras in Cajun or Creole? Anyway, that's where Manning Sports Bar and Grill is. And yes, folks, that is the Manning family. There's a chain of them. There's 2 or 3 of them, I think, across the country. So that's where the official Sugar Bowl Texas Longhorn game day party is going to be. Bobby Burton of On 3 will be in attendance. For those of you that don't know, Bobby Burton is a guy that's he goes way back on reporting on Texas sports, Texas football. There are 3 packages for this shindig. You got your general admission, which will give you food and non-alcoholic drinks. You got your VIP, which does you food and your premium alcoholic drinks, all included. And then there's MVP, which is your food, drinks, and exclusive lounge access. And I don't know what that means. What I did find out is at Manning's, looks like they have this really cool, almost theater area with these massive TVs on the wall. Maybe that's the lounge. I don't know. Each ticket you buy at each package not only includes what we just talked about, but it also includes a $50 donation to the Texas One Fund. So you buy 2 packages, 2 tickets in any of those package ranges, and you're going to donate $100 to the Texas One Fund. So that's a good way, if you're going to be there, to not only support your University of Texas athletes, but also have a really great time with a lot of Longhorns. Parties from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. on January 1st. And this is kind of cool. And I had to look this up too. It includes a second line parade from Manning's down to the Superdome 90 minutes before kickoff. So you show up at 10 a.m. if you're alive at 10 a.m. on New Year's Day after being in New Orleans on New Year's Eve. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I don't know. This is going to be a crazy trip. But you do that, you get beer and food and drink until this party. What is it called? It's called a second line parade, and that's just those brass bands. But you get like a guided walk down to the Superdome. I think it's a little less than a mile from Manning's to the Superdome. For those of you guys without tickets to the game, but you're like, man, I got to go to New Orleans. Manning Bar and Grill will become the official watch party for the Texas Longhorns fans when the game kicks. So we went ahead and bought 2 VIP tickets. We're excited to be there. If you guys are interested in tickets, you can go to texassugarbowl.party. It's got all the information. There's a limited number of tickets inside of each package. So if you're going to check that out, make sure you do that soon. I don't know how many are left. At one point I looked and there was like 92 VIP tickets left. If you're interested in donating to the Texas One Fund, that's texasonefund.org. One is spelled out O-N-E. And then you guys can check out surlyhorns.com to support those Texas tight ends. And again, I'm pretty sure those guys are somehow affiliated with the Texas One Fund. So as I said, it's going to be a quick trip for us. We're going to be down in the Houston area visiting family right after Christmas. And then we're going to shoot on over to New Orleans on the 31st, not 34th, 31st. And then we're going to split on the 2nd, drive our asses all the way back to Lubbock, Texas, which is about a 12-hour drive. So it's going to take us as long to get back from New Orleans as it did for us to get back from Columbus, Mississippi when we went to the Alabama game. Any of you guys have any recommendations on New Orleans? Please let me know. It's our first time. So yeah, man, Horn Takes Traveling Roadshow is going to be there. If you see us, stop by, say hello. We're excited, man. We are ready to have a blast. Hopefully those Texas Longhorns show up the way they've been showing up the last couple games. If they do that, we'll have a really, really good shot at heading to the national championship game, which is kind of surreal, man. just after all of the down we've had in the last decade plus, the fact that we are one win away from playing in a national championship game in Sark's year 3, man, that's exciting stuff for us Texas fans. We'll talk a lot about that stuff in the next couple weeks as well. Quick look ahead at these college football playoffs now that the dust is settled and the arguments are over, and I think they're over. I keep seeing Florida State maybe boycotting their bowl game, but I don't know. We'll see. You got number 1 Michigan versus number 4 Alabama in the Rose Bowl. Michigan started out as I think a 3.5-point favorite. It's now down to 1.5-point favorite. And then you got number 2 Washington versus number 3 Texas in the Sugar Bowl. Texas is a 4-point favorite this morning. I believe the opening line for this one was 3.5 points in favor of Texas. A lot of people think we're going to see a week 2 rematch of Texas and Alabama in the national championship game. I don't know. And just keep in mind, folks, everything I'm about to talk about is not presumptive. I'm not trying to say Texas is in the national championship game. I am by no means discounting Washington and their ability to be a good football team. No Texas fans think that Texas is just going to walk in there and walk all over Washington. So don't take me the wrong way as we walk through this stuff and talk about this stuff. But yeah, a lot of people think Texas and Bama are gonna meet up for a rematch of that week 2 game in the national championship game. I think that'd be a really cool rematch. Obviously, I mean, be another chance for Texas to beat the SEC again and just kind of solidify itself as at the very least a team that belongs, a program that belongs in the mighty SEC as they head into the SEC in 2024. I mean, we talked about it all off season. This season is very important for Texas football because you're not successful this season. You start to lose a little bit of recruiting momentum, and now you're headed into the SEC, not only against some really good football programs, but a lot of guys that can recruit. So it was highly important for this year to be successful for Steve Sarkisian. And not only that, you get a rematch of 2 really storied programs. They're like 2 of the, I don't know how many blue bloods we really have in college football, but there's certainly 2 of them right there. 2009 national championship rematch. Yes, let's do that, Texas fans. I think we'd all agree. We'd like to see that. I think again, it'd be another opportunity to try to beat that Bama team. And man, so we beat Bama week 2. We hear how terrible Bama is. Then Bama wins the SEC, and now they're the greatest thing since sliced bread again. And Texas was lucky to get in. Texas was lucky to beat them. Lucky they got to play them in week 2. What else? Oh, Alabama drug Texas into the college football playoff, even though 3 is higher than 4. Like 3 is better than 4 in this case. And then we start hearing, oh, wait till you get into the SEC and go 500 next year. It's like same bullshit I heard like literally the entire week headed up to that game or that week 2 matchup with Alabama. Folks, I did a bunch of TikToks on the road. Every single time I did a TikTok, oh, you're coming a long way for an ass whipping was the general comments I received. So it's the same bullshit, same stupid shit that these gumps have been saying all season long. So yeah, man, from that perspective, it'd be cool to play Bama and beat them again. But here's the other side of that coin. Texas has a real, and again, if they beat Washington, I'm not saying they will beat Washington, but headed into this playoff, Texas has a really unique opportunity. Something that I don't think any team in the college football playoff has done in the 10-year history of the college football playoff is beaten every other team that's in that playoff. So Texas already has the road win against Bama. If they beat Washington, they'll have a win against Washington. If Michigan can beat Alabama and Texas beats Washington, they've already beaten 2 of the 3 other playoff teams with a shot at the 3rd. How fucking cool would that be? How cool would it be to say we're the only college football national champion that beat all the other teams that were in the playoff in that year? I mean, you talk about all-time greatest teams and shit like that. And again, I'm not saying Texas would, I'm not saying I would call them that. I'm just saying you start to wind up in conversations when you do stuff like that. Looking at the future lines, Vegas really likes Michigan and Alabama in almost any scenario. For every single potential national title game possibility, there's 4 of them. Bama and Michigan are favored over Washington or Texas. Early line on Bama versus Texas would be -3.5 in favor of Bama. Bama over Washington would be -6.5. Michigan would be a 6.5 point favorite against Washington. And then they have Michigan as a 3.5 point favorite over Texas if they were to match up. So if you're just looking odds, you got to think the winner of that Michigan and Alabama game's in the catbird seat for the national championship. I don't know. Odds don't necessarily mean what people think they mean all the time. And that Michigan Alabama game is a tough one, man. I think it's a tough one to predict, man. It's hard to vote against. It's hard to pick against Nick Saban when he's got a month to prepare. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on Michigan. I mean, Michigan is a good team. We're going to find out how good they are. I think defensively, they're really good. I think offensively, they're efficient, but kind of boring. I don't know. We'll have to see. I did a Twitter poll over the weekend. Who'd you rather play in the national championship game? Michigan, Bama, and then I put another one, just beat Washington. And I was really proud of my Texas fan brethren. 65.9% said just beat Washington. And that is totally where I come from on this whole deal. You got a lot of people that always want to talk about the next thing and not enough people living in the today. And I know we as fans don't matter. Like what we talk about doesn't matter. But it was just cool to see a lot of people just go, man, let's just get this first one and then we'll worry about the other one. After that, it was 24.4% Michigan, probably for the same reasons I just mentioned. And then only 9.8% said they'd want to play Bama. And I know the Bama fans are going to go, oh, yeah, Texas is scary, because I've already seen this. Texas doesn't want no part of Bama on a round two. Texas fans are not scared of Alabama. Just like Alabama's gotten better this season, Texas has gotten better this season. Texas is finally healthy. Ish. I mean, when Texas kicks off the ball against Washington on January 1st, that'll probably be the first time it'll be the healthiest they've been since like week 4. So yeah, but we're not afraid of you, Bama folks. And beating the Gumps again would be real cool. But I personally don't feel like playing them and beating them outweighs like the negatives of playing them in that game. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze. If Texas won the rematch, we would just start hearing again how, this is the worst Alabama team ever since Nick Saban's been there. That would be the new reused mantra out of the college football world. And then if Texas loses, it'd be, see, I told you. Bama just kept getting better. Y'all got lucky to play him in week 2. So it's one of those, you can't win. You can't, even when you win, you can't win. I think people remember the last thing that happens a lot. So people would forget the week 2 thing if Alabama and Texas were to play and if Alabama were to beat Texas, including recruits. Plus, I like the idea. I like the idea of being able to have the opportunity to beat all 3 of those teams in a single year. I think that would be the shit. To me, it doesn't matter. I'm in the just beat Washington. I think Texas has the ability to beat any of these teams in the playoff right now if they're executing. So I don't think there's not an easy game, I don't feel like, in this playoff for anybody. And I certainly don't think the difference between Michigan and Alabama is that great that you should want to play one or the other. I just want us to go win that Washington game. Check us out tomorrow, 12 noon. I don't know what the hell we're going to talk about. We'll figure out something. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Follow and subscribe. Won't cost you guys a thing. We appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. You guys have a good Monday. Y'all get hooked.